You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
I'm excited to get into the topic of the week, which is really about the phase of life that you are currently in now, where you've come from and where you hope to be going, but how we can look at that as transition periods in our life. The reason why this topic came up is because I've been on the road quite a bit lately. I've had the privilege of speaking to thousands and thousands of people over the past couple of months, and all sorts of questions come up during those seminars when I'm on stage, when I'm speaking with people. And a lot of the times, people are asking me questions, not so much even about their health or their wellness or anti-aging or weight loss, but sometimes it's about putting it all together in life, trying to figure out how all of the pieces of the puzzle fit together and how to become truly happier in day-to-day living. So that's what I want to go over today. I always tell people right up front that my life is not dramatically different than anyone else's out there, meaning that I have the same normal day-to-day struggles, successes, stresses, etc. So I have 2 young daughters, 5 and 7 years old. I have 4 different health-based companies that I run within that. My wife and I have our relationship. I have a relationship with my parents, my siblings, then I have my friends. Then there's me wanting to carve out a little bit of time for myself to exercise. Then there's other things in life that bring me pleasure as well that I want to work into my life. So we're all trying to create balance, right? We're all trying to figure out how do all these things work together. Well, I want to share a few things with you today. But the biggest thing that I want you to understand is that there is always an ebb and flow to life. Now, I've spoken about that before, and I don't want to make that the topic of today's show, which will be more on the phases of life. But the ebb and flow of life is this, is that sometimes we're unhappy in life because we believe that in every moment of our life, we should be happy, that there is this greater rain cloud, this proverbial rain cloud that floats over us from time to time that we can't seem to escape. Well, I've never met anyone that's able to dodge that rain cloud completely. So for me, what I always share with people is this. There will be things that are seemingly out of your control, but your control over the situation is your response to it. So knowing that you are in some type of hard time, some type of hardship at the moment, you'll understand that this too will pass because it always has passed in the past. So what I want you to do is focus then on the best way to focus on getting out of that. And the fastest way to move on from it is to be grateful for what you currently still do have, and then the bright future you are painting for yourself. So this leads me now to the phases of life. The phases of life is such an important thing that we often forget. And because it's this, is that I truly believe that you should have a big set of goals, that there should be that bucket list that you create for yourself in life. But when you're creating the list of goals that you want for yourself, you have to be understanding and you have to be gentle with yourself and realize, are you in the position right now where you can make all of those goals come true? And the answer is probably no. But I bet you could probably make one of them or maybe 2 of them work if you started to work on them. So what I want to share with people is that there's a time and a place for everything. And a lot of what I have for goals, I know won't necessarily come to fruition until maybe 10 years from now, maybe 15 years from now. And that's because that is when I'm going to be able to focus more of my time on those things. Now, remember, where your time goes, where your attention goes, your energy flows. That's a very famous quote. I wish I could give the person proper due for it. I don't know who originally said that. But your time and attention is where your energy will flow. And where your energy flows is most likely where you begin to manifest things in your life. That means, what is really manifestation? Because sometimes it sounds a little woo-woo to people. Well, all it is this. It starts with a thought, And that thought starts to fester into emotion in a good way. And then the emotion allows you to take action, meaning you get excited about moving forward, or you get nervous and you shy away from something. But either way, it will lead to some type of action in your life. So our thoughts are what starts to move us in one direction or another. The feelings are what set things in, and it is the action which will make that goal come to fruition, good or bad. I mean, again, I know that you don't set bad goals, right? But a lot of us, our attention is so focused on what we don't want in life. We put so much energy there, so much feeling there, and then we end up getting the thing that we don't want. Well, of course, we did. Because if you understand the law of frequency, the law of vibration, you do understand that you begin to resonate on a level as a vibrational being, which you are. Again, we talk about this. This is now true quantum mechanics, quantum physics. You are a vibrational being. You are 99+% invisible base-spaced with vibrating atoms that lead to your seeming mass. So what we want to talk about is this. You have to get into resonance with what you want, yes, but you also have to be understanding that there is a time in your life for everything. So, for example, if you wanted to become a surgeon, and that's a goal of yours, okay, you're going to have to you're going to have to take an undergrad, all of your pre-med and your biology and all those different things, then you're going to have to go to medical school. And then you're going to have to do your residency. And then you're going to, apprentice is not the right word, I can't think of the word right now, but you are going to then work under another surgeon, and then you will then have your own surgical practice. And that's not going to happen until you're into your 30s. So you have to understand that is what it will take in order to reach that goal. Now, if that's okay with you because that is your life stream, then fantastic, because we need surgeons, right? So what do? Well, now you understand time and place. I have to study while I'm in medical school. That may prevent me then from having the type of deep relationships and all those things that I really want, because I might not be able to dedicate as much time to all of those relationships. And I hear this over and over in medical school all the time, because that's the phase of life that someone who goes to medical school is in. And then after that, you have your residency, and you're working long hours, and you don't necessarily get to dictate what hours you are working. You don't get to dictate necessarily what holidays and what vacation time you take off. Well, that was the trade-off. And you are paying the price for what your goal is, right? But it's a fair price. It is a fair price if your end goal is to become a surgeon, where you're rewarded with helping people, saving lives, having a great career, most likely having good financial gain from that, whatever it might be. And then at that time, that might be the time where you begin to foster other things as you've already had a set of practice. So most of us aren't going to be surgeons. So how can we look at this in a different light? Well, one thing I talk about all the time is this. And again, this is more personal for me, but I want to share it with you. So much of the time, and I work with so many women and men in my practice, but I work with quite a number of women where there is somewhat of a loss of self, I think is the best way to say it, is that when you have children, you are dedicating your life and your time and really all of your emotions and all of those things to your children. It starts when they wake up in the morning or wake up during the night, and you sacrifice your sleep, and then you're making lunches for them to take to school, and you're driving them to school or walking them to school, and your schedule is based around theirs, right? And so this happens for both men and women. But now what do we do? Do we get upset at the situation that we're in? And it's my opinion that we don't, is that we actually step back for just a moment and we realize that although the present moment is challenging, that this is something that we are working towards and wanted on our end. And we want, in the example of children, to be the healthiest, happiest kids that they can be, probably try to give them even more than your parents gave you in a positive way, and that you realize that the phase of life that you're in right now is that of being a father or a mother first, right? A parent first. Because you know that it is your responsibility to take care of these young beings who need you. They need you for everything. They need your time. They need your affection. They need your support. They need you to clothe them. They need you to feed them. They need all of that. And so a lot of times as parents, we try to take on too much. We try to do all of these extra things when it is sometimes very important to realize that there's a lot more that we're going to be able to do in life, that life is not over, when we're 50 years old or 60 years old or whatever it might be. We have to realize that the phase that we're in right now will not last forever, and that's a good thing, but also maybe a not so good thing. Meaning that if you really love being a parent and you really love having young children, or that that it's difficult in the moment, but you'll miss that when they're older, try to keep that in perspective while you're in that moment and realize that in just a few years from now or a decade from now, whatever it might be, and they're out of the house or they're in high school and they're really kind of on autopilot and doing their thing, that will be a time where you're now freed up for more hours of your life, that you'll be able to maybe work on that project. You'll be able to go back to school. You'll be able to begin that second career, or you'll be able to do the charity work with your community, your church, etc., that you've always wanted to dedicate more time to. So really, the reason for today's show came about because there is so much frustration out there, and I get it and I understand it. It's something that I work on a weekly and quarterly basis to say, where am I right now in terms of life? Am I giving enough time to my family? Am I making sure that I'm also moving my different health-based companies forward so that we're doing the work that we were meant to do? That's based on our passion. That's based on our purpose. Remember, you can't be stagnant. You always have to be moving, growing, or you start to move backwards, which none of us want. So it's always a challenge, but what I can tell you is this. If you can set a list of a half a dozen or so priorities in your life, you really can't have more than that. We can begin to make time for all of those things. And we can look at it from the perspective of a person who wants to not really have work-life separation or family-work separation or any of those things, but really work-life integration. And you want to think about that. You want to think about, how can I do more work that I love? How can I maybe teach my kids more of what I want them to know? How can we maybe do things as a family that we all enjoy so that there isn't just all sacrifice all the time with family or even with work? How can you start to do more of the things that you love in work? Could it bring value to the company that you work for? Or could you begin to maybe get a part-time job doing something that you're very passionate about, even if it's non-paying, even if it's charitable-based work for a couple hours a week that would really lift you up? And here's what I share with people all the time as well, is that, so even if I only get an hour a day to myself, if that's all that I get, I know that when I go home at night and also when I work during the day, that I'm better for everyone else outside of me. So I'm better for the people in my company if I've had a little bit of time for me to do my either creative work or exercise or my reading or any of the things that I really enjoy. And then if I get to do those things, I'm better when I speak with my team. I'm not as rushed. I don't feel like I'm always having to do for others and not necessarily pull anything in for me. And the same with my family. It's the same exact thing. I feel so good being able to take time off and spend really great quality time with them if I've had a little bit of time to myself. Now, there are always a lot of people out there who say, well, that's a selfish way to look at it, that you don't need to do for yourself or whatever it might be. But I simply don't think that that's true, and I think it's really outdated. I really do. I think each partner in a relationship should have a little bit of time to themselves so that they can do things that they alone enjoy doing. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. And that the same goes for family. The same goes with being able to take a personal day, whatever it is that you need in order for a little bit of self-care. And self-care really has been one of those forgotten terms and forgotten things that we do for ourselves. It really has. It's that we are in a 24/7 go, Western-based mindset culture that I would even say is fairly new. I mean, we're talking a couple hundred years, is that there is less leisure time than ever. There's less family time, like as a family unit where everyone's together, not just parts of the family. And there's more isolation than ever. And so what happens is we lose a lot of who we are in terms of relationships, but also ourselves. Because all we know is when we wake up in the morning, we move from one thing to another thing, and then something pops up. We need to take care of that. and there's not a lot of time to stop and reflect. What I'm asking you today to do is this, not a specific plan, but I want you to start to just know what more of that you want in your life. So what is it right now that you feel is lacking? And most people, when I say that, something will pop into their mind. So when I say to you right now, what is that thing that's lacking in your life? And it could be love and relationships. It could be the career that you want. It could be the finances that you know that you need to do the things that you want, to be able to travel. It could be your health, or it most likely could be one other thing, and that could be getting the body, getting the energy, getting the vitality, getting the zest for life back. So those are all the 5 things that I focus on. Now, there are other things that can fit into that as well, but I want you to pick that one. I want you to think of that one, and at least for this week, I want you to focus on it. So it's what's that thing that you're lacking right now that you know you need more of for you, not for anyone else. Let this be a day that you think about you just for a moment, okay? That's okay. We're giving you permission to do so. So if you say the thing that I'm missing the most is, let's say, rekindling that relationship with your partner. Let's use that one for today and not a health-based one. So as we're talking about that, you need to then develop a plan on your end that would allow you to then feel like you have more of that love and connection again with your partner. What would that be? What would that look like? So you want to now start to paint the picture. First, you've come up with a thought, the idea that the thing that you're lacking the most right now, the thing that you need the most is that connection with your partner, the person that you've decided to share your life with or that you're currently in a relationship with. So now if you said that that's the thing that's most important right now, that's great. So now you're becoming more self-aware, which is really what it's all about. You can give yourself permission to actually feel feelings. And if you say, I want to increase that connection with that other person, what do we need to do? And if it's that you're working too much, well, you need to dedicate maybe one night a week to being able to go out to dinner with that person and have a nice quality dinner, turn the phones off. There's probably not going to be an emergency that night, okay? If there's going to be an emergency, set whoever may be the emergency to a VIP in your phone so only that person rings. And you can do that. Remember, modern technology will allow you to do that. For everything else, you can silence your phone. And you can have a nice dinner together, go to one of your favorite restaurants, enjoy a great meal and a great evening. And the other thing can be, if you are not taking off the weekends, then take off the weekends. Allow that to be a reset time before the work week starts, and then you're then again on autopilot. And let's say that you have a family, you have a few children, whatever it may be, that needs to say, okay, great, our kids come first. There's no doubt about it. But we need to make time for us as well. And so again, it goes back to, can you find a babysitter, someone to watch your children for that one night a week, every week, right? And then also, is it possible, depending on how old your children are, can you take a long weekend away together? Almost is, even if it's a staycation. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Maybe your children could stay with a grandparent, they could stay with friends, whatever it might be, even if it's just for a night or two. And you get to spend some quality time with that significant other. And that time then should be planned. You don't want to say, oh, okay, well, what should we do? You want to actually say, here's some nice things that I've thought of that I thought we could do. And whatever the two of you are into, it could be going to a museum. It could be going to hear one of your favorite musicians, like anything that you want, but plan it out. And just that act alone, it doesn't mean that that's all of a sudden then things are perfect again and whatever it might be. But here's the thing. That is a thoughtful based weekend planned, or that is a thoughtful night out to your significant other's favorite restaurant. And that's how it starts. And then you can have a great conversation over dinner, and you can start to say, you know what, our kids obviously come first. We've been doing a lot. We're both super busy. And, I know that, I haven't been as available lately, whatever it may be. Again, put yourself first. You need to just not put things on your significant other. Always take responsibility and say, okay, I would love to be able to plan a one night out a week together. What do you think about that? And then what do you think about in a few months us taking a 2 or 3 day vacation together? So just start to think of those things. What I want you to say is that was a important point for the both of you, or at least it was for you, and you can share that with your significant other. And if your goal, let's just bring it back now to the other side. Let's say your goal is getting meaning through the work that you do. There's so many people I also speak to inside of IHP and people saying, listen, I have a job right now in finance, but it's not what I love to do. It pays the bills, it allows me to provide for my family, etc. And I say, great. I don't think that you need to, as they say, burn the boats and just go all in on something that you've never done before, that you don't have a following for, that people don't know you in the industry as. But what if you began to say on a Monday and Wednesday night, after work, you began to do some health coaching calls, or you began to do whatever it is that you want. I mean, meaning like first, obviously, you'll spend the time studying for a certification or whatever that you need it is for yoga. A lot of people I know teach part-time yoga classes, and they teach after work, and they love it. A lot of people I know in finance teach a spin class, and they love it. It's a great outlet for them. So what I'm saying is, again, the phase of life that you're in right now might be having to provide for your family with that finance-based job. Maybe you don't love it, but it's noble that you are doing it to be able to provide the life that your family needs and wants, or at least desires. And you know that after a certain amount of time, especially if you're focused on it, you may be able to not necessarily retire, but transition careers over a period of a couple years as you begin to build up your base in yoga, personal training, health coaching, or any other career, real estate, whatever it might be. I don't know a whole lot of careers. This is the world that I live in. So all I wanted to share with you today is this, is that I know that there's a lot of people struggling out there right now. And I know there's a lot of people that would like to change certain aspects of your life. I want you to realize where you are in life, not get discouraged by that, but actually begin to give gratitude for what you do have, because I'm telling you right now, there are a lot of people who would love to be in your position. As strange as that may sound to you, there are so many people who would love to be in your position that are not there right now, that are struggling to get where you are. Now, I know that you may need or may want to move to that next level for you. And again, it's always subjective. It's always what we want, we desire, and that's totally fine as well. So write down those goals, write down those desires, and then also write down what will it take in order to get there. What do I think my timeline will be based on my current situation? Because remember, you can make all things that you want happen in your life. It's simply a matter of time, not a matter of if. Thank you so much for tuning into today's Motivation and Mindset Monday. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And as always, if this show is helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well finally is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing, and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests, or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.